Hey guys, Ron White here. Welcome to the Brain Athlete Show, the Brain Athlete Podcast. I promise that if you listen to this podcast, it's always going to be something to do with the brain. It's going to be something to do with smart or intelligent or interesting or learning, or we're going to talk to cool people. You know what? I'm going to do something I've always wanted to do, but never, ever had the opportunity to do. And that is memorize a poem live with you. And when I say live, this is recorded, but you know, I'm doing it live. I've never looked at this poem. I know that it's a good poem because historically it's a good poem, but it's the Invictus poem, and I'm going to read the name of I know so little about this poem, I can't even say the author's name without reading it. William Ernest Henley wrote this poem in the late 1800s. Here's what we're going to do. If you want to know how to memorize poetry, scripts, or whatever, do this video with me. This could be ugly. This could be ugly. I've never looked at this poem, but I'm going to show you the thought process I go through when I memorize a poem. I'm going to memorize this poem for the first time, and you're going to see me memorizing it. But more importantly, if you watch the entirety of this video, I promise you, when this video completes, you'll have this poem memorized. Because I'm going to memorize it, but I'm going to tell you what I'm doing, and you're going to memorize it too. Even if you have no interest in this poem, do this with me, because you're going to have a poem or a script or a quote that you want to memorize, and you can apply the techniques to this. So let's dive in. Now, disclosure here. I told you I have not looked at this poem. I looked at it because I was looking for one qualification. Was it less than 20 lines? I'm not going to memorize a 100-line poem on a live video with you, okay? I counted the lines, and it was 16 lines. I think that's perfect for what we're going to do. So that's really I kind of know the theme of the poem because I've heard of it, Invictus. It's a famous poem. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to use a technique known as the mind palace or the memory palace. If you've been watching my show or my podcast, the YouTube, you know I'm a huge fan of this. Why am I a huge fan of it? Because it works. Because it works. That's it. Bottom line, it works. That's why I'm a huge fan of the mind palace. Ron, teach us something new. Teach us a different technique. Why? You mean teach us something inferior just because you're tired of what works? No. We're going to use the mind palace. If you don't know what the mind palace is, you're going to need at least 16 locations numbered. You have two options. You can number these on the fly as we go around. Use the room that you're in, and you can, on the fly, you can just move around and number 16 pieces of furniture. It would probably work best that either, number one, you already have 16 pieces of furniture numbered in your brain. If you don't, it might work best if you push pause on the podcast. Pause to yourself and say, I'm going to number 16 pieces of furniture in this house, this room that I'm in right now, this office. Start in the doorway, look around the room. What are your pieces of furniture? Number one's a TV. Number two is a chair. Number three is a window. Number four is a computer. Number five is a wall. Then go to the next room. 6 is the bookshelf. 8 is the weights. Number 9 is the sink. Number 10 is the toilet. That's a weird looking bathroom, but you know, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Just pick random items. I'm going to give you a chance right now to pause and number 16 pieces of furniture. If you just want to do it on the fly and go with me, that's fine. Here, let's do this. Let's just dive in. How do you memorize a poem? The first thing that you need to do is read it. Get it in your natural memory. I'm about to read it, and this is going to be the first time I've actually ever read it. And this is true. I've never memorized this. Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Love it. Okay? Good choice. I made a good choice here. So, number one, the first step is to read it through. You got to read it through. Don't just dive in and start memorizing it. After you've read it through and you've got it in your brain, and you might want to do that 2 or 3 times to read it. Then you go back, you take the first line of the poem, out of the night that covers me. And you think, okay, what's a picture for this? Out of the night that covers me. You know what I think? I see myself in a sleeping bag in the night sky, and it's covering me. And I jump out of the sleeping bag. I'm going to imagine that on my first piece of furniture. So you look in the room that you're in right now. Look over at the first piece of furniture. I want you to see yourself in a sleeping bag, and it's covering you in the night sky, and you jump out of it, and you say, out of the night that covers me. Here's the important thing. See the picture, but say the line, out of the night that covers me. The next line, black is the pit from pole to pole. My next piece of furniture I move to in my brain. I see a black pit covered in tar. There's a pole on one end of the pit and a pole on the other end of the pit. And I say to myself, black is the pit from pole to pole. Now I go back and review the first piece of furniture. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. Notice what I'm doing. I'm going back and reviewing the ones before. I want you right now to look at that first piece of furniture in the room, and I want you to see on that first piece of furniture, you're in that sleeping bag, and the night is covering you, and I want you to say to yourself the words, out of the night that covers me. Go to the next piece of furniture. See a black pit and a pole on each end. Say the words, black as the pit from pole to pole. Now let's go to the third piece of furniture in the room. Look at that third piece of furniture. Here's the line. I thank whatever gods may be. I'm going to see a statue of a god, like just a statue of a god, and I'm putting mayonnaise on the god, like a mayonnaise sandwich for May. Mayonnaise. And I'm kneeling in front of the god, and I'm thanking him. I thank the gods. I thank whatever. So, okay, so here's the thing. I'm struggling with whatever right now. By the way, I'm going to put the poem down below this podcast, this video, so if you want to read the poem too, you can. I thank the gods. I thank whatever. So I'm struggling with whatever. What? I'm going to use water. So I'm going to see myself thanking and then drinking a glass of water. And I'm adding that to the picture because I'm realizing I'm having trouble memorizing that word. If you ever come across something and you're having trouble memorizing a word, add something to it so you don't forget it. So I'm seeing myself kneeling. I thank what? Water. Whatever gods, and the gods are covered in mayonnaise, may be. I thank whatever gods may be. That's on my number 3 piece of furniture. Now I go back and I review. You always review. Out of the night that covers me, black is the pit from pole to pole. I thank the gods. I think whatever gods may be. Number 4, for my unconquerable soul. I see on this piece of furniture, oh, look at this. It's my 4th piece of furniture, and it starts with the word for. Let's take note of that. Your 4th piece of furniture starts with the word for. Look at that 4th piece of furniture and notice there's 4 corners on it. And if there's not, just pretend that there is. The 4 corners on that piece of furniture. For, and then I want you to see a soul, and it comes out victorious. It's like a gladiator. It is unconquered. For my unconquerable soul. Now go back and review. Out of the night that covers me, black is the pit from pole to pole. I think whatever gods may be, for my unconquerable soul. Review this again. Look at the first piece of furniture, the night that covers you. You're in a sleeping bag. On that piece of furniture, you jump out of it and you say the words, out of the night that covers me. Move to the next piece of furniture. There's a pit with 2 poles on it. Black is the pit from pole to pole. Go to the third piece of furniture. There's you kneeling before a god, drinking some water, and you say to yourself, I thank whatever gods may be. You go to the next piece of furniture. You see the 4 corners. For my unconquerable soul. See a gladiator soul flying out. Now we're on number 5. In the fell clutch of circumstance. In the fell clutch of circumstance. So I imagine myself falling, and I think of a clutch. I don't know why, but I just thought of like an eagle clutching me or whatever. You think of whatever you want. See yourself falling, and then something clutches you. And, oh, you're like, what a terrible circumstance this is. Say to yourself, in the fell clutch of circumstance. I'm seeing myself falling on that number 5 piece of furniture. In the fell, something clutches me of circumstance. In the fell, see yourself falling on that piece of furniture and something clutches you. Then say the words, in the fell clutch of circumstance. Now go back and review all of them. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, now we move to number 6, I have not winced nor cried aloud. I want you to see you're standing there and you're strong and somebody's maybe hitting you and you're not wincing. You're not inside, you're crying. You have tears inside, but you're not crying aloud. I want you to see yourself standing there strong as can be. You're getting punched and you're not wincing. You're crying on the inside, but not out loud. And say the lines, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Guys, I'm memorizing this with you right now. What do we have to do? We always have to go back and review the ones before. Let's review the ones before. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Booyah, baby. Let's keep going. Under the bludgeoning of chance, I want you to see you're getting under this piece of furniture because somebody is bludgeoning you and their name is Chance. They got a bat and they're bludgeoning you. Get under that piece of furniture for protection. And you say the words to yourself, under the bludgeoning of chance, 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 under the bludgeoning of chance. That's on number 7. Now let's go back and review all of them before. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance. Let's go to the next one. My head is bloody, but unbowed. I want you to see your head, blood, just you've been in a boxing match, blood just all over your face, but your chin is up. It is not bowed. And see that on the number 8 piece of furniture, but say the words, my head is bloody, but unbowed. My head is bloody, but unbowed. My head is bloody, but unbowed. See that on number 8 and say the words, my head is bloody, but unbowed. My head is bloody, but unbowed. See the bloody head that's not bowed. My head is bloody, but unbowed. Now go back to the very beginning and review number 1. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Does it say but? Yeah, it does say but. So maybe there's butter on me to remind me of but. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, beyond this place of wrath and tears, what do I think of that? Beyond, beyond, beyond. I think of the stars. I think of Star Trek and going above and beyond out in the galaxy. So beyond, I see a spaceship flying out on number 9. Beyond this place, I see a placemat. You know, whenever you sit down to eat and you have a placemat that you put your plate on top of the number 9, I see a placemat and a spaceship flying beyond this place of wrath and tears. What is on that piece, that placemat? I see wrapping paper, you know, for wrath. Use whatever you want. Maybe you see the grapes of wrath. That's better. Let's see grapes for grapes of wrath. And tears. There's grapes and tears for wrath and tears. Look at number 9. A spaceship flying over a placemat. Beyond this place, on the plate, grapes and tears of wrath and tears. The grapes of wrath. If you don't know what that is, it's a novel. The grapes of wrath. Beyond, and see that picture and say it in your mind's eye. Beyond this place of wrath and tears. As we're doing this, if these pictures don't work for you, who cares? Create your own. I'm showing you how I would do this. Modify this to fit you. Number 9, beyond this place of wrath and tears. Let's go back and take it from the top. You always go back and review before you add the next line. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced or cried aloud. That's right. I have not winced. I shouldn't doubt myself. I have not winced or cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, let's go to number 10. Looms the horror of the shade. Looms. I used to date a girl, her last name was Loomis. So that's what I think of. But maybe you think of an armored truck, the Loomis truck. That might not, we need to think something that everybody could think of, though. Looms, 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 loom, 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 loom. I'm going to use my friend Loomis, okay? You think of, nah, we can't do it. Garrett, can you think of anything for Loomis? Loom? Bloom?
Bloom, yeah.
Okay, bloom. All right, so we're going to use bloom for looms. On number 10, I want you to see a flower blooming. Blooms, but the horror of the shade. I want you to see a flower blooming, and it's a horror movie. Ah! And then it's the sun goes over it, and it's covered with shade. Looms, the horror of shade. Looms, but the horror of shade. Remember I said before, whenever I need to remember the word but, I think of butter. So this is kind of getting a complicated one, and I apologize for bogging down on this one. On number 10, I want you to see a flower blooming. As it blooms, it tastes like butter. Looms, but. Looms, butter. Blooms, butter. Looms, but. So you see a flower blooming, it tastes like butter. And I want you to see, it is scary, horrifying. Looms, but the horror of the shade. So see this picture, a flower blooming, it tastes like butter. It's scary, horror, and there's shade over it. See that picture, a flower blooming, it tastes like butter. It is scary, and it's in the shade. Now say the line, looms, but the horror of the shade. Say that line 10 times. Looms, but see the picture. Looms, but the horror of the shade. On your number 10 piece of furniture, see a flower blooming. It tastes like butter. It is scary, horror, and it's in the shade. Looms, but the horror of 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 the shade. Now let's go back and say it all the way to from the top. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of the shade. Now we go to number 11. And yet the menace of the years. I think of Dennis the Menace. If you never heard of Dennis the Menace, it's because you're not as old as me. But we're going to think of Dennis the Menace. Okay? He's a cartoon from the 1960s and 70s, 50s maybe. And yet the menace of the years. I'm going to see Dennis the Menace getting older for years. And yet the menace of the years. I'm looking over there on my number 11 piece of furniture. Now, if you don't know who Dennis the Menace is, create something that reminds you of menace. Maybe a bunch of men. Maybe just a bunch of men and they're getting older. That's going to remind you menace of the years. Keyword here is menace of the years. I see Dennis the Menace getting older. You might see men getting older. Menace of the years. Look at that number 11 piece of furniture and say to yourself, and yet... Maybe you think of the Yeti, right? Isn't that Bigfoot? Is that Bigfoot, Garrett? Bigfoot? Think so?
Similar, yeah.
Similar, okay. And yet, the menace of the years. And yet, the menace of the years. I see Dennis the Menace getting older on my number 11 piece of furniture, and I'm saying, and yet, the menace of the years. Let's go back to number 1 and let's review. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of the shade. And yet, the menace of the years. Did I get that last one right? Let's see. And yet, the menace of the years. I got it. Number 12, finds and shall find me unafraid. Finds and shall find me unafraid. You know, when I think of finds, I think of like a metal detector, and you're looking for something. So I see a metal detector, I'm looking to find something. What do I find? Seashells for shall. Shell, shall. So I got a metal detector on number 12 for find. Seashells for shall. So I find seashells. And I turn around and I look me in the eye and I'm like, that guy's not afraid. So that's the picture. Metal detector, I'm finding seashells. That guy's not afraid. I see the picture, but I say the line. Finds and shall find me unafraid. I see the picture, but I say the line. Finds and shall find me unafraid. Finds and shall find me unafraid. I see the picture. Metal detector, seashells, not afraid. But I say the lines. Finds and shall find me unafraid. This is on my number 12 piece of furniture. Finds and shall find me unafraid. On my number 12 piece of furniture, finds and shall find me unafraid. Now I go back to the top. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. My number 3 piece of furniture, I thank whatever gods may be. My number 4 piece of furniture, for my unconquerable soul. My number 5 piece of furniture, in the fell clutch of circumstance. Number 6, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Number 7, under the bludgeoning of chance. Number 8, my head is bloody but unbowed. Number 9, beyond this place of wrath and tears. Number 10, a flower blooming. Looms, but the horror of the shade. Number 11, and yet the menace of the years. Number 12, finds and shall find me unafraid. Let's go to number 13. Now, guys, there's only 16 lines. We're almost there. 13, 14, 15, 16. Yes. It matters not how straight the gate. It matters not how straight the gate. I think of George Strait. He's a country singer. Amarillo by morning. I know a lot of you are in other countries. 20% of my viewers are in India, so you might not know who George Strait is. So if you don't know who George Strait is, just think of a straight line. I want you to see a gate on this piece of furniture, and I want you to see a straight line, but it doesn't matter. See a gate and a straight line. I see George Strait too. Deepens the picture for me. But say the lines. It matters not how straight the gate. It matters not how straight the gate. See that picture, but say the lines. See the picture, but say the lines. It matters not. Maybe you're shaking your head. It matters not how straight the gate. It matters not how straight the gate. It matters not how straight the gate. See that on your number 13 piece of furniture. It matters not how straight the gate. It matters not how straight the gate. It matters not how straight the gate. Now go back and review. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate. Is that how you say it? It matters not how straight the gate. Booyah, baby. Okay, this works. This works. How charged the punishments, how charged with punishments the scroll. How charged with punishments the scroll. Charge, I'm going to see a battery, a charger, electrifying. Punishment, I'm going to see the electric chair. That's a punishment. And in the electric chair is a scroll. The person sitting in the electric chair is reading a scroll. So I see myself getting a charge of electricity for how charge, punishment, electric chair, and they're holding a scroll. And then I say to myself the lines, how charged with punishments the scroll. How charged with punishments the scroll. How charged with punishments the scroll. How charged the punishments the scroll. How charged the punishments the scroll. I'm seeing the picture in my mind on number 14. How charged with punishments the scroll. How charged with punishments the scroll. How charged with punishments the scroll. I go back to the beginning. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I think whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Undering the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate. How does this next one start? How charged the punishment of the scrolls. How charged with punishments the scrolls. So with, I need to remember with, I think of a wick sometimes in a candle. How charged with wick, how charged with punishments the scroll. Let's just keep moving. You're going to have to go back and fill in the parts on your own where you're stumbling. We might not get this 100% correct, but we're going to get it 90% correct. And then you perfect it later over time. I am the master of my fate. On number 15, I see a master, a kung fu master, Bruce Lee, and he's got a big face for fate. I am the master of my fate. I am the master of my fate. And I'm just going to go ahead and do line number 16 here because it's the last one and they go together. I want you to see a captain of a ship, and he's standing on number 16, and say, I am the captain of my soul. Go back to number 15. I am the master of my fate. Bruce Lee is on that number 15 piece of furniture. I'm the master of my fate. Face. Go to number 16. See a captain of a ship. I am the captain of my soul. Guys, that's it. That's it. You might know it 100. You might not know it 100% correct, but you got a framework right there. How many minutes are we at, Garrett?
27.
27 minutes. You just memorized a 16-line poem in probably about 25 minutes, okay? That's pretty good. Now let's go back and review it and say it a few times. This is part of the memory process. Here it is. And remember, you're just going from piece of furniture to piece of furniture. Here we go. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Undering the bludgeoning of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of the shade. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Guys, I got it. You just saw me memorize a poem that I have honestly never memorized, never looked at, never read. I've heard about it. It's a famous poem, Invictus, by William Ernest, or William Ernest Henley. That's the process, guys. You use the mind palace. You take each line by line. You create a picture to remind you of that line. You see the picture. You say the line. Then you go back and you review the ones before. You always add a new line, and you go back and you review the ones before, and you just keep reviewing. What do you need to do to put this in your long-term memory? Say it 3 or 4 more times today. Say it tonight. Say it as you're falling asleep. Say it as you wake up. Review it next week. Review it next month. And that's how you memorize a poem. This is an excerpt from my black belt memory course. If you want to get the full course on how to remember names, numbers, speeches, memorize books, whatever, click the link down below, get a free gift, learn about my black belt memory course. If you like this, give me a thumbs up. If in the comments below, if you're like, Ron, I didn't like your picture for Looms, I would have used this instead. Comment down below with what you would have used for some of these pictures. Let's get a conversation going here. By the way, if you're not subscribed, what the heck are you doing? Subscribe to this channel, this podcast, whatever. You are going to get, sometimes we'll memorize a poem together. Sometimes we're going to interview people, interview interesting people. Sometimes I'm going to answer memory questions. We'll always be doing something different. We'll always keep you on your toes, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I hope if you did not memorize the poem, go back and watch this a couple times, and you will get it. The poem is in the description below. I'll see you on the next lesson. Thanks, guys.